Our system now imports from Reptile Scan. It imports the animals, its weights, and its feedings. And let me show you how it's done. Animals are imported by going to the Reptile Scan import, selecting animals at the top, and your file needs to be in a CSV file, so you can actually convert them using Convertio.co if you have the Excel version that Reptile Scan exports. So we'll go ahead and do the animals first. What you'll do is you'll choose your animal file, and in this case I'll take reptiles.csv. Now it has gone and imported everything that is associated with that animal from that table. Now, we are looking at this and there are some errors. Everything in red is an error that won't be imported properly. Now, a couple things you may want to do. The descriptor is blank. That's something that we use that Reptile Scan doesn't. And what I would like to do is I would like to use the genetics as the descriptor. So all this genetic information will go into the descriptor file. So those are kind of the short forms and the other forms of the genetics that don't quite match up. They'll be put in the descriptor. You can refer to it later. You can print it on cage cards and things like that. The other thing I want to do is I want to change the animal ID. I don't want to use the IDs from Reptile Scan. So I want to go ahead and uncheck that box, and then I want to make my own pattern. So these are mostly ball pythons, so we'll make them 2021 when I imported them, and %I to do it sequentially numbered, so that adding the %I will give a sequential number in that spot because every animal has to have a unique ID. Now I need to look at all the data that we've got here, and I need to change anything that's red. I don't have to change it all, but it'll be a cleaner import if you do it at this point. You'll have less to go back and fix later on. So for this one, we're not royal pythons. We're going to change these to ball pythons, and we're going to go ahead and save that change. So it will now match up everything that is listed as ball python in this import, that was royal python, and change it to ball python. We're also going to go ahead and change our feeder because it's not just a rat. So what we want to do is we don't have any feeders in the system yet, so we're going to add a feeder. We're going to go frozen thaw rat. We're going to go size medium. And we're going to save that. That's all the information we have to put in there. So everything that had the word rat in it will now change to frozen thawed medium. We'll hit save, and there we go. Now there's still some reds because there's mice and things like that, so you'll go and you'll change those afterwards. Now dealing with the genetics is a little bit different. So black pewter doesn't exist. VPI xanthic, we use a little bit different terminology for it. So if you click on VPI xanthic, you'll see that we've got xanthic up here. So we're going to cancel that out, and we're going to just type in VPI. And we're going to click it that way. So everything that has the word VPI xanthic in it will now change. With this one here, we go normal possible het. So we could leave normal in there. All we're going to do is change this one to albino, and we're going to go possible het. And we're going to save that. When there's multiples, so if we look at this one, double het orange ghost pied, what we can do is we will change that to pieball het and orange ghost het. And we'll save that. And you'll note it changed every one of them. So you'll go through that and you'll clean up this table a little bit, and you'll go to the bottom and you'll hit Start Import. Zoom back to the top, and this checkbox will go for every one that goes in perfectly. And when there's an error, it will list the error, so genetic pewter not found. So what we would do then is we can go back and look at that later and change it in the animal itself. So it's going to run through all the animals, all the way to the bottom. And then it's going to create a download file for you. So it's going to create another spreadsheet file for you, and it will have all this information in it so you can refer back to it. There we go. We've downloaded it. Now we'll go ahead and import the weights. Now that all the animals are done, we'll go ahead and import the weights. You'll go and you'll select from the top, choose Import Weights. You'll then go and change the file to weights, and you'll open that. It will scan through, and because there's nothing to change here, you can't really match anything that isn't there. If there's one that's red, it's probably from an animal that you didn't import and wasn't on the import list. You'll just go ahead and start the import, and again, it will run through each one, and it'll finish up and give you a download file that shows any errors that were there. Now that we've done the weights, we'll go ahead and import feedings. To import the feedings, we'll go ahead and select Feedings. We'll select the Events table. Now, the Events table has a lot more in it other than just feedings. So you can choose to import everything as a feeding, but what we've done is we've made the system a little intelligent. If it has a feeder size in the feeder size column, we'll go ahead and call it a feeding item or event or activity, and we'll go ahead and we've matched everything up as best we can. You can click this button that says Import Events Without Size as Feedings, but you'll notice we've got these events here now that don't have a size from the export from Reptile Scan. So we're not really sure if those are feedings. If you're sure they're feedings, or you've cleaned up your Excel table before, or the CSV table before you're importing, then that's fine. You can do that. I recommend leaving that off so that you're just importing feedings. Now, this feeder size is not a size that we have in the system. So everything in this table is going to be red right now. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And we know that these are medium feeders, so I'm assuming they're feeder rat medium. We'll go ahead and save the change, and it will change all those to rat. So we'll go with large here now. Large isn't in my dropdown yet. I will add the feeder, FT rat, and I'll go large. I'll select it. I'll hit save, and it's changed all those. And we'll also do small while we're at it. And small. And save that. And there we go. We've matched up as much as we can. There's other sizes in here that I haven't selected to import. We can add the weaned. It will still import, but it will add an appropriate feeder item recording. It won't add the actual size. So we'll go down here and we'll start the import. Zoom back up to the top, and it will start showing you checkboxes for everything that it imports successfully. And again, once it finishes this, does take a little while, and you could have thousands of records. I've chosen to trim this down to a couple hundred records. It will take a considerable amount of time. You just need to wait through it all. And once it finishes, it will again download any errors and tell you that it's complete. Now that we've done that, we can go back and we can look at our animals. And we can see all the animals have been imported, given an ID, sequential order. All the descriptors are there, and the genetics are within the animal itself. If I had fixed them, they'll be there. View the genetics, and it actually matched up all those genetics on its own. It wasn't errored when I was importing it. And there you go, the Reptile Scan import.